Hello Scaredy cats, it's me, Scaredy Matt. Critters 4 follows the proud 90s tradition of horror franchises heading into space after they've exhausted every legitimate attempt at thinking of a good idea. Everything from Jason X to Leprechaun in Space to Freddy Krueger Conquers the Martians to Candyman vs. the Space Mutant. I don't know why this is such a popular theme because it seems to me that it makes the horror of the situation a lot less relatable. Space horror tends to work best when it's some cosmic unknown, something that's out there waiting for us to stumble upon it, not when it's a guy with a knife. Critters 4 is also far and away the absolute worst movie I have ever watched for this channel. The whole time I was watching it, I kept asking myself, did they intend to entertain people when they made this? It's 40 minutes into this movie before you see a fucking critter, and even then it's like a little baby critter. The absence of critters in this Critters film is inexcusable. You get maybe 2 minutes of on-screen critters, tops. This is gonna be the easiest recap of my life because nothing happens in this fucking movie. So we pick up where Critters 3 left off. In fact, the first 10 minutes is just stuff we already know from Critters 3. Charlie is told by a holographic vision of Ugg the Bounty Hunter to put the last 2 Krite eggs in a receptacle to be collected by the Galactic Council. The receptacle, of course, is designed so that you have to crawl inside to deposit the eggs, and the absolute second you put the eggs in, it seals up and cryogenically freezes everything inside. That just makes sense. 50 years pass. It is the year 2043. Mankind is now a spacefaring civilization, with whole generations who have never seen Earth. Like Ethan here, the useless apprentice of Albert, who is the second officer aboard the RSS Tesla. The Tesla is a salvage ship run by an obvious villain who is somehow not Tommy Wiseau, but he looks just like him and mumbles a completely incomprehensible accent the whole movie, just like Tommy Wiseau would. Guess what? They find the receptacle, which has been floating in space for 50 years because the council disbanded for some reason. They're contacted by Ugg, now known as Counselor Tetra, who offers them 3 times the typical salvage rate for the receptacle, but warns them do not open it. He sends them coordinates to a derelict space station run by the corporation he works for, where they did secret experiments to create weapon aliens to clear out planets. Something you'd think they would want to hide that. They definitely wouldn't want a bunch of random people to show up and look at all that stuff and see it. Anyway, obviously the evil captain opens the receptacle and out pops Charlie, who proceeds to not at all warn him about the critters, so he sticks his big stupid head inside and then this happens. Did he bite the critter? Why is it in his mouth? You go in a critter's mouth. The critters don't go in your mouth. So Ethan and Charlie run around ripping off other sci-fi movies for a while. There's a scene lifted directly from Star Wars where they get trapped in the waste disposal system and the ship's AI won't obey their orders because it thinks they're waste, because they're in the waste area. So Ethan gives it opposite orders, which it does not fall for at all. Ugg boards the station with his retinue of goons who look like spaceballs. Charlie's like, yo, Ugg my man, and Ugg's like, fuck off, Charlie, I'm evil now.
What's your problem?
You overstep your bounds.
Now I bet you're wondering why Ugg is evil, considering his character development in Critters 2 strongly suggested that he was warming up to people and becoming a more heroic figure.
I guess you got a promotion, huh?
Things change, Charlie.
Not a word is given on the subject of why one of the franchise's most important characters completely changed motivations and names and became the opposite person of who he was, and now doesn't like the guy he was very close friends with earlier. So what Ethan does is he tricks Ugg's goons by ordering the computer not to close doors that are in the way of the goons, and the computer's like, oh, I guess I will then, which earlier the AI wouldn't obey him and he had to give it opposite orders because the AI thought he was waste because he was in the waste disposal system, but now he's not, so the AI should just listen to him. But also when he tried that earlier it didn't work at all, but now it does work. Anyway, he traps the goons inside a science room where they're fangoriously devoured by critters because the critters So in this room, they were developing alien weapons, and one of the weapons was a metabolism accelerator, and the critters use that to grow other critters. And it doesn't really feel like an escalation because in most movies it takes them like 10 minutes to go from egg to full-size critter. Also, the station decides it has to explode because nuclear something, so they leave an UGG's ship. The two remaining crew members, Ethan and Fran, who was played by Angela Bassett the same year that she was nominated for an Academy Award, leave Charlie alone on the bridge and tell him, hey Charlie, don't touch anything. So of course, he immediately hits the biggest button he can find, which is the make the ship do wacky stuff button, the end. What a romp! There were more jokes in my summary of this movie than there were in the movie itself. Critters has always been a comedy franchise, sometimes a bit too much of a comedy franchise, but Critters 4 opts for this dreary, bleak atmosphere that it completely fails to make sinister whatsoever. It steals ideas from the greatest sci-fi movies of all time and still can't manage to tell an interesting, coherent story. It even fucks up the mythology of critters, such as it is. They don't shoot poison darts at any point during this movie, despite the fact that there were many scenes where that clearly would have been in their advantage to do. It reverses course on UGG's whole arc and then kills him off without ever explaining why. Like, the one thing that could have made this movie interesting is to learn what, hey UGG, why'd you turn evil? What happened between movies? Nope, dead, gone, forever. This movie squanders every chance it has at an emotional moment. When Charlie wakes up to find out he's been frozen for 50 years and everyone he knows is dead, which also, would they be? Because it feels like he knew some pretty young people. It's just been 50 years. Like, if he knew someone who was 30, they'd be 80. There's a good chance they're still alive. But anyway, he assumes they're all dead, and it's played for laughs.
No, that's 1993. That's next year. Charlie, you've been floating around in that pod for over half a century. Everybody I know is,
They're dead. They're toast. They're history.
Yeah, well, I can live with that.
This is where you put the jokes? In the scene where the guy learns everybody he knows is dead? That's the moment for hee-hees and or ha-has? You have Brad Dourif and Angela Bassett in your movie, and you can't make either of those characters interesting? Hey, Critters 4, do anything! You're in space, show some aliens. There are more aliens in the Critters movies which don't take place in space. Have a robot or a cyborg or something. Why go to space if you're not gonna do fun space stuff, shoot lasers and go to alien planets and go... Sorry, I'm being hailed. On screen. Hey, Maddie, it's us, the Borgaduke, the stars of the Delta Quadrant. We're gonna assimilate you guys and add your cultural and technological distinctiveness to our own. Nope. We're not doing a big high concept bit. This movie doesn't deserve it. But Maddie, baby, resistance is futile. Nope, not doing it. I'm not indulging this. I'm not putting more effort into this than was put into Critters 4.